Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I am also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we are going to go over the differences between narcissistic personality disorder and dismissive avoidant attachment style. And the very first difference is actually the very definitions of these two aspects, right? The first one is narcissistic personality disorder is actually a clinical diagnosis. Requires extensive evaluation. You must take it very seriously. It goes in their med file, and you don't want to assign it casually. If this is being diagnosed, we want to take it very seriously. You want to you want to be thorough. You want to be slow about it. You want to make sure that you're uncovering everything, because with personality disorders, you don't see it the first intake session. So sometimes you got to keep tabs on it, right? Sometimes you don't see the whole picture. You start seeing these behaviors as it continues. Whereas attachment styles, regardless of what it is, they're independent from personality disorders. They are not clinical. They don't go in, they're psychological, but they're not clinical. They don't go in your medical file. And so you can have dismissive avoidant attachment and have narcissistic personality disorder. They're separate, they can overlap. You can have both. You can be narcissistic and have anxious attachment. You can be avoidantly attached and you don't have a personality disorder. And so they're separate, they're independent, but they can overlap, okay? So that's the very first difference, okay? The second one is under the category of manipulation, okay? Both individuals can be manipulative, but anybody can. Some people, even who are secure, I've seen them be manipulative. Very, very few, though, and it's really far and few between. Excuse me. But being manipulative is not indicative of being narcissistic. It's not the same thing. People who are narcissistic tend to be manipulative. In fact, most of them are. Most people who are dismissively avoidant are not manipulative. However, if they are, that does not automatically mean that you assign them with a personality disorder. That is not the case. And so to kind of summarize that, avoidant attachment individuals, dismissive avoidant, tend to not be manipulative. However, if they are, that does not mean that they are narcissistic. Most, if not all, individuals who are narcissistic tend to be manipulative, okay? So that's the component of manipulation, okay? The next one is how they behave about love and relationships, okay? Narcissistic personality disorder perceives love as a tool for personal gain. They perceive it as something that can make them more important, more special, more acceptable to what they perceive, maybe in society. Dismissive avoidant individuals do not feel this way at all, right? They desire love just like anybody else, but sometimes they struggle to express it due to their own struggle with themselves. Sometimes they may not even realize they desire love. And so the difference between how individuals who are narcissistic and individuals who are dismissive avoidant, the way they feel about love is almost the opposite. People who are narcissistic, they want love, very much so. They just don't want it for an emotional reason. They want it for a personal, external reason. People who are dismissive avoidant, they probably don't want love, but internally there's a desire for it. So they have a very internal perspective, whereas narcissistic personality disorder, they have a very external perspective. And I want to give an example of this because I think it may be helpful. Let's say we have a person who has narcissistic personality disorder. Let's say it's a female and she believes that, because a lot of narcissistic individuals have very low self-worth, but they don't admit it. They don't act like it at all. But she believes that she really wants commitment. And she thinks the best way to get commitment is to date somebody who is Christian and military. So in her mind, that's the easiest way to get commitment. So her mind is, I don't care about who the partner is. I want commitment. I want to be a wife. I want to stay at home. I want to be, in this imagination. She has this fantasy. She wants to be a stay-at-home mom. She wants to live in this fairy tale castle. She wants to not really have to work. She wants to stay and have a garden. She wants to raise chickens. And these are good things, but it's becoming, when you listen to the perspective, it's very askew, which means she will do anything. She will sacrifice anything for this image. She will sacrifice her mother if she has to. And this is not an exaggeration. She will cut off anybody who does not view this as what she wants. And if she finds that person, she will badger him in any way. She'll manipulate him anyway, just so she can secure that. Even if he doesn't even like her, she wants him no matter what because he fits that bill. Dismissive avoidant individuals don't do that at all. They are looking for somebody who let's just say fits their criteria. They might be very specific. I've had some avoidant individuals that are like, oh, he or she has to have a good job because I have a good job and I don't want them to take my money. They have to have their own house because I have their own house and I don't want them to take my house, right? And so it's very protective. I don't want to lose this, so they better have this. I want this person to not be emotionally dysregulated because I can't handle that. And so they choose partners like a normal, like a more healthy person. I shouldn't have said normal. I'm sorry for that. A more healthier perspective, right? It's just a little more specific because they're avoiding their own barriers and triggers, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. A person who has narcissistic personality disorder, unfortunately, it can be unethical. It can be it's unfortunate because you're selecting a partner based off solely what it can provide for you, sometimes without even care about the other person, okay? The next one is their reaction to breakups, okay? A person who has narcissistic personality disorder, they leave when the relationship or the person ceases to serve their needs, often in a very planned manner where they're trying to make it look like the other person did something wrong, right? Whereas avoidance, they leave when they feel triggered or they feel vulnerable. And if their partner broke up with them, narcissistic individuals try and make it look like they want to smear that person's name, a smear campaign. They want to make this person look very wrong. They want to hurt this person. They want to humiliate this person. And they will do that for years and years and years. They will torment this person. Whereas dismissive avoidant individuals, they actually feel good when that person broke up with them. But they start eventually feeling, I miss this person a lot. I really miss this person. How do I get this person back? It's a pretty healthy process, even though not healthy, but it's not manipulative at all. It's not malice. It's not vindictive. It's just their denial. Now the denial's gone. They miss you. They want you back, right? That's how it is for avoidant individuals. So with narcissistic personality disorders, it's if you don't serve their needs. So let's say that we gave that example of that girl who wants this military guy because that's commitment. Let's say he cheats on her and that maybe I don't know, we're just making this stuff up, okay? We're making the case study up, not the diagnostic impression. But let's say he cheats on her. For her, he still serves her needs because they're married, let's just say, and he's still in the military and he looks like a stand-up guy. And so even if he cheats on her, she will manipulate him to stay, even though he's like, you know what, I shouldn't have done that. I feel awful. I actually care about this person. Maybe I should leave. I don't know what to do. I'm, a bad guy, whatever it is. I'm not saying he's a good person for cheating. I'm not saying that. We're not talking about him. We're using this as an example, but she badgers him to stay. She's like, no, stay, because she really wants the marriage. She wants that image. But let's just say he didn't cheat on her, but he's like, you know what? I don't want to be in the military anymore. I don't want to do law enforcement. Law enforcement is a common one too. I want to quit my job and become a painter. Do you think that you could start working full time so I can follow my dream? Now, her image is shattered. She's not that stay-at-home wife that she wants to be. She's not the person who's married to law enforcement or military. She doesn't have that image anymore. He wants to be a painter. Then that's when she leaves and she doesn't need him anymore, right? So she didn't leave when he was cheating because her need was the image that still served her needs, but she leaves when he no longer fits that criteria, if that makes sense, okay? The next one is the emotional dynamics. Okay, individuals who have narcissistic personality disorder, they actually sometimes enjoy or feel some sort of comfort belittling others, having some sort of self-assertion, and they will often do this with their partners if their partner doesn't meet their needs. But if their partner does meet their needs, they're very much putting that partner on a pedestal, right? So give the example of that military guy. Let's say he continues to serve her needs. Now she's always saying he's the best husband ever, even if he cheated on her, let's just say. Still the best guy because he's doing what she wants. But let's say he's a good husband. He's a good guy. He never cheats. He's very loyal, but now he wants to be a painter. Now she's going to insult him. She's going to say something's wrong with him. She's going to twist him and say, people will think less of you. What are you doing? You're less of a man, whatever it is. She'll start belittling him. And she enjoys that because she feels like then she can get what she wants from him. which is that image, right? Whereas avoidant individuals don't really have these emotional dynamics. They often feel regret when they hurt somebody. They shut down. They might nitpick you because they're actually just afraid to let you get close, but it has nothing to do with them trying to control you or trying to make you into something, right? They're just uncomfortable with your flaws simply because it means that you're a human and you're close to them and you love them, and they're trying to say, no, I don't like you. You're not the comfortable image that I have of you. You're not the person I love. You have this flaw and that flaw. You can't be perfect, because they're actually denying their own desire for you. It's nothing to do with you. So the next one is their perception of reality, okay? Individuals who are narcissistic, they have a distorted belief about life, and they actually believe that achievement can be, they have very unrealistic goals, and they don't work to achieve those goals. They tend to manipulate others and the situation to achieve those goals. Whereas an individual who is avoidantly attached, they want to work to achieve their goals. They don't manipulate people. They're obsessed with reaching their goals in their own way. I'm independent. I do this. I want to become a CEO. I want to have like 3 businesses, whatever their perspective is. Dismissive avoidance, me, myself, and I, they want to do it for their own goal. A person who has narcissistic personality disorder, they believe that it's in their right to manipulate this person. Let's continue using that same example, right? Where her goal is to be a stay-at-home wife, but she didn't do that by being a good provider in the home. She didn't do that by picking a partner who, wants that. She did it by manipulating him and making sure that he never leaves so that she can continue to have this life. Maybe he says, I want to be a painter and I want to work. I want you to work, where maybe she's going to manipulate doctors to get a diagnosis that she has a back problem and she can't work. So now his dream is shut off and he has to go back to being in law enforcement, right? So that's how that's the difference between their perception of reality and goals, okay? The next one is how they lie. Okay, so individuals with narcissistic personality disorder may lie to achieve what they desire, where if avoidants are lying, they typically do it out of shame or avoidance of conflict, right? I'm not saying is lying good. And a lot of avoidance, or some avoidants, do not lie, but when they do, it's typically shame or avoidance of conflict. Whereas individuals who are narcissistic, they're going to lie to achieve their desire. Maybe this person didn't even receive a diagnosis about their back being misaligned or hurt so they can't work, but maybe she just said that so that he would go back to working. So they tend to lie. The next one is the victim mentality. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder, they tend to position themselves as victims, often blaming others for troubles. Whereas avoidant individuals, they may struggle internally, but they tend to not blame externally. In fact, they take the blame. I'm the fault. Don't stay with me. I'm a bad guy. I can't give you what you want. They blame themselves a lot. It's not a victim mentality, but very much they think they're flawed, okay? And the next one is, I think, pretty important, because this one I think is the one that people get the most confused about, because there is some overlap. It's selfishness versus self-serving, okay? So self-centered is probably a better way to put it. People who are narcissistic, they tend to have their selfishness to serve their needs. And they don't consider, they do see other people, but they find a way to manipulate the other person out of their need so that they can serve themselves. Whereas dismissive avoidance, they just don't pay attention to other people's needs because it's a lack of practice of considering others. They had that upbringing where they have to me, myself, and I. So they don't look at other people's needs. Often because they're not looking at their own needs. But if they are looking at their own needs, it's because they think that makes them strong, makes them stoic, it makes them sturdy. It's not necessarily that they think your needs don't matter or they're going to manipulate you to give them their needs. Whereas that's how a person who has narcissistic personality disorder perceives. And I do want you to understand that narcissistic personality disorder is not something people are just choosing to do. It is a sense of trauma. People who have narcissistic personality disorder, they often were in homes that had emotional neglect combined with maybe a parent who was very coddling or very, who distorted their own reality. Whereas they didn't teach the child to look at things from a normal perspective or a healthy perspective, but often a distorted perspective. So it is trauma. So I just want you guys to know that. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.